Hey, that's it. We are live. We're a bit later than I was expecting, but in a sense, it's one of those things because it was actually sort of kind of raining for Robert. But hello, everybody who's going to come in the chat room. And we are on with our Patricia and Robert Foertsch.
Hey, thank you so much. Glad to be here. I'm going to take us outside for just a moment here and show you what it looks like at the beach.
Whoa.
One of the things that I want to highlight here too is how just simple things like reality exposes the impossibility of the globe. We've had some rain happen and a rainbow over by the Cherry Grove Pier. That's where I do a lot of my videography and filming. And then, of course, you could probably see the raindrops falling. That's just what they do. There's up and down. There's not upside down. So all of these cables here have a
Hey,
have water
Robert, just before
droplets
you get
hanging.
going on there, that's your hurricane land, isn't it? Your car park, isn't it?
It is. In fact, this is where I did the storm broadcast for Hurricane Florence. I came up here. Oh, here comes some pelicans. Check them out. They love to glide in front of the building. Sometimes they smack into them. Should be able to show you coming out the other side here. It was a beautiful sunrise this morning, a bit delayed though because of a lot of marine layer. So like right down below we've got a little swimming pool. The water fills its container. There's a little like a jacuzzi. Let's see if I can zoom in. Not so good. Not so good at zooming. But the clues are all around us. Water basically exposes the impossibility of the globe. We've got the toilet water down there, the liquid money porta toilet. We don't have toilet water flying out on people in Australia because of gravity. It's just water seeking its level and everything else. Heavier falls, lighter flows. We have a drain in the low spot of the parking lot. We've got two drains. That's just what they do, and the water will drain out to the ocean. It's all very basic. For some, they would say, well, that's just common sense. Well, it's not so common these days, common sense. So what I'm going to do is show a couple of things. One of them is what the Truth Mobile looks like. And that's one of the things that people will see, when they're around me on the road. They'll have an opportunity to see the hashtag YouTube Truth. I don't have the URL for Truth. However, just hashtagging it will make it easy for people to see. And so that I have it in a bit of a little picture that I put together here for you. People can call me anytime, either through Facebook Messenger. What's happened, I get calls from all over the world because I put my contact information out there publicly, and I know that it's available. People can search that out if they want. But what has happened, because of the nature of the internet and the video, like the HBO video, my name was put out there as well, which was an opportunity for people to reach out and call me, and that's what happened. Some people reached out and called me. I contacted an angry vegan atheist in Australia that believed that we lived on one of these, and I had a wind chime running or working outside my window, and I could hear it outside his window, and I said, well, according to what you believe, our wind chimes are upside down in relationship to one another. It's kind of interesting. But that doesn't happen anywhere except in the imagination. The upside down world is only science fiction. It's not reality. There was a lone pelican. Hi, ladies. There was a lone pelican that was soaring around out here. Even on a rainy day, there will be people that go out walking like that. It is so cool. The joggers, the bicyclists, the runners, um, all around. What's really nice for me now to have the Truth Mobile is it's a whole lot more practical for what I do because of the climate control nature of this. It sure is pleasant to not be on the motorcycle getting rained on. So that's pretty nice. I think what I'm going to do here, I can go ahead and flip this around for a moment. So right now there's a new documentary that Shelley Lewis is working on, and Mark Hollander is working with her, and then there will be others. I hope to talk with Shelley today. One of the things that I want to have us consider is that a lot of the proof and evidence of the non-movement of the earth is all around us. When we have the water that's basically not moving, like when we look at a very calm day when there's virtually no wind, the symmetry of the reflections is all very obvious, very easy to see that. And what I was going to say with the plain truth, I don't believe we need another laser test, even though they're going to put one together. I talked with Mark about that. I said I'm glad to hear that if it's windy or the conditions aren't right, you're going to basically just have a meetup rather than a test. I've heard of different, to kind of bounce to a different topic yet related, I've heard of people talking about shooting a laser across a frozen lake, and the problem with that is that ice, water expands when it turns into ice, and what happens with that then is there can be a bulge. It'll happen in your ice cube tray if you have one of those, or it can also happen in a lake. In Wisconsin, where I grew up, I used to ride snowmobiles on the lake and Lake Winnebago. It's the second largest uh, freshwater lake in I believe it's the United States. Lake Okeechobee in Florida is bigger. But the interesting thing about that is it would be relatively flat, but there would be ice heaves, like it would be like the ice expands. So it's not really flat, not as flat as a salt bed, like Bonneville Salt Flats is very flat. What I've endeavored to do here is, whoops, I want to flip this around. What I've endeavored to do here with this is basically show that we're at sea level. I show proof of that when I go out. Right in the middle of the view there, I'm going to try and clean the little knuckle
Robert, that's where
smudge.
yeah, I remember that car park and all that wind and all that stuff there on that one. I'm so glad it's calmer this time.
Oh, me too. When we had Hurricane Florence, there were winds that I felt out here that were approaching 80 miles an hour, and that is just so much. However, even 15 to 20 miles an hour of wind is quite a bit, and it actually uh, it'll clear the beach off. Not many people will be out there on the beach when you get a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind. It's just too much. People don't care for that much. So what I wanted to say is that as we look at this out here, the wind moves the water quite a bit. We'll get a storm surge, And that storm surge can be upwards of 15 feet, depending. Hurricane Katrina had quite a bit more than that, even quite a bit more. And the different areas were so low lying that the water went a long ways inland. So that's a consideration. However, we do have the tidal activity at the ocean. So I'm gonna take us over to the area of the Cherry Grove Pier, and I wanted to take us for a little bit of a drive and help you to see what that looks like. My new charging system kind of is in the way a little bit of the view, but still I can give preference to the I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect it and just hold it like this. The parking ramp there, where the puddles are, when it we'll have sometimes as cold as 16 degrees here. It can get pretty chilly, and with that in mind, we'll have quite a bit of ice around. Even the brackish water ices up. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in the clamp for now. It's just safer for me when I'm driving. I've definitely got to give preference to the drive. So the sun is coming out now, and later on today we're going to have some more showers. That common sense I was talking about how rain falls, water falls, that's just what it does. On my liked video playlist, I recently re-liked a 24/7 stream of the beauty of creation, showing islands and all of that, waterfalls from all over Hawaii and other tropical destinations. What I wanted to do is just take us around right out here. It's a nice, easy place to show you a little bit of this, and I don't even have to actually get out right now to do this. So the beach renourishment that we had, I wanted to just show you a little bit of what that looked like. A lot of these dunes that are visible there were pumped in with diesel pumps, and bulldozers moved it around in a in a very elaborate system of pumping, where they used a 30-inch pipe to move sand and water up onto the beach here. What that does is it provides protection for the buildings. Otherwise, they would just have the foundations eroded in that. I'm going to go ahead and take us outside so you can see this better and hear the wind and the waves and see the beauty of that. Now that the sun is out and it's not raining, it's a lot nicer to be out there. What I added to my equipment here is a surround sound Sennheiser headset, and I'll show you that. They work really nice, so it should have stereo. Yeah, it does actually have stereo. You can hear the sound on both sides. So we were parked right up there. That's where we were. Can you still hear me okay, Karen? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. It's beautiful.
Oh,
I love
oh,
it.
oh, good,
Very
good.
grey, dramatic.
Uh-huh. And so we had low tide just a few minutes ago, and then the tide will come in for about 6¼ hours. The wind is coming from the southeast, probably about 10 miles an hour. So when I was out here and we had upwards of 70 and 80 miles an hour, that was just absolutely ferocious. And one of the reasons why I bring that up is because the official narrative of the heliocentric or the globe mythos is that we're rotating at over 1,000 miles an hour. Well, the water would go flying off of it. Water doesn't even stick to a stationary ball, let alone a spinning ball. So the wind would be absolutely devastating. And I know that people say, well, the gravity keeps it all kind of like Velcroed to the rotation of the Earth, and they'll give the example of tossing a tennis ball up in your car while you're driving. A lot of absurd, unrealistic examples. They don't hold water. They're just not real. It's make-believe. And one of the first things that I looked for 3 years ago was the curvature. Couldn't find it. Now I'm going to tip the camera down, the phone, and there's no curvature there. That's about 5 feet off of the sand. And so, how ridiculous it is that they'll say you can't see the curvature when you're, or let's see, you can see the curvature from an airplane. Well, if you've got a distortion in your lens of the window, you can. The plexiglass isn't perfectly flat in some of those, and there is distortion. They're faking a lot. So seeing is believing what? What do we see, and what do we believe about what we see? What's real? How can we know what real actually is? So that's part of the challenge, is to look at information and determine not only what's real, what is important to focus on, what really matters. And so the short version for me, and why I changed the name of my channel to Truth, is that I believe the truth matters, and that truth and reality are virtually interchangeable, the reality of the situation. So rather than elaborate tests, there are already very elaborate tests that have been done to prove that the Earth doesn't move. Take a look at the air travel. I've flown from coast to coast. From here to California, there's over 2,500 miles. Supposedly, when I'm flying from California to here, my destination would be going away from me approximately 500 miles an hour faster than the plane is traveling. So my destination would rotate back up underneath me about 5 days later. And then when I flew from here to California in a westerly direction, apparently my destination would be rotating towards me. I would have a combined speed of over 1,700 miles
Hey,
an
Robert,
hour.
if you were rotating, all those bubbles would fly up.
What's that?
All those, but they're bubbles, aren't they, in the water? If you were spinning, all those bubbles would fly up.
Oh yeah, that's because we have a lot of wind. But what I wanted to just finish up by saying on the air travel, there's no accounting for that supposed rotation in calculating any travel, whether it's on a plane, train, or an automobile. None of it. However, it wouldn't affect a car so much. An airplane being separated from the supposedly moving Earth, that should be a noticeable difference. There was no difference that I noticed in plane time. You can research that for yourself if you care to. The other thing I did is I actually drove a car from here to California, and in that amount of distance, 8 inches per mile squared calculates out to about 650 miles of supposed curvature that's obviously not there. I had a modified diesel Volkswagen that averaged 55 miles per gallon from coast to coast. Well, as it was stated by some of the champions of this movement in the 1800s, there's no locomotive that has ever been constructed that could work a grade of 8 inches to the mile squared. So it's roughly a 30% grade. My real-time estimated fuel economy calculated when I got to a 5 to 7% grade, estimated that my economy had dropped down into around 10 to 12 miles per gallon. And then I would coast down the mountains. There's no way I could have climbed a 30% grade with the little Volkswagen I had. And to go along with that, there's no way I could have possibly averaged 55 miles per gallon in such a ridiculous example. But it gets even more weird than that. Oh, you know what? My camera doesn't, it's still upright, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't change when I rotate it. What I have done is created what I call beams. And a beam is where I take the camera and invert it. So the beach renourishment that I mentioned that had the bulldozers and the ships out in the ocean and the pumping of the water sand mixture, that was all upside down. And what I would do is zoom in on it a long distance away in some cases. And what was so interesting about that is the absurdity of how that looked. It's impossible for things to stick to a spinning ball upside down. That's why I show the simplicity and the everyday reality of a wind chime, a crystal bell, how the clanger just hangs vertically and doesn't move unless I move it. But sitting on the counter or at the Flat Earth Conference when I talked with Rich from The Guardian, and I said to Rich, where in the world would a wind chime be able to hang upside down in relationship to other wind chimes? He said, well, gravity. I said, only in your imagination. And that's where the globe exists. Now, Logan Paul made fun of me when I said I tried pleasing others, it didn't work. I tried pleasing myself, that really didn't work. And then he used some creative editing. What I went on to say, a lot of people take matters into their own hands and try pleasing themselves in a variety of ways. And when I was actually born again and do what I believe Jesus created me to do, I enjoy life. That's why I do this. Not every day. I don't come out here every day. However, my activity is 24/7 multiplied by just the digital data that's out there that I've created. So that's part of the benefit of this, is being able to leverage technology to do this. Now, right from this location, actually up right about there on the 8th floor, I videoed bulldozers out here moving around sand. You can hear them in the background, and I'm showing just the amazing sun in the midst of the clouds, just as Job 37 talks about. So I take a lot of heat for my sun in the clouds video. It's called Local Sun. You can hashtag it. It looks like the sun is in the clouds. I don't have a problem with that. I understand that there are people that would say, yeah, well, I'm not a Bible believer. I need hard empirical evidence. Well, that's available too. The empirical evidence is there, showing the impossibility of the globe. And one of the reasons why I show the puddles, it's not a good puddle to see, but they're out there. When I drive around, you'll see them. And I've done that to just show that wherever you are, even if it's your bathroom or the swimming pool that you're seeing, the water will seek level. That's what it does. Now, we've got quite a bit of wind. If there was no wind, the symmetry of those reflections would be perfect. Not almost perfect, absolutely perfect. So that's part of the reality of that. And that's where I've created some pages that talk about it. Reality exposes the global lie. So if you're following somebody that's talking about the globalists and they're not exposing the global deception, well, they're in on it, whether they know it or not. And we were in on it too, unaware, as homeschooling parents. We told our sons that we lived on a globe, even though we didn't. We never have. We just didn't know any better. And then one of the other things is that there's the fact that we actually perpetuated the Santa Claus lie. That has always been a lie, the Santa Claus lie. And it's just very popular for people to put that out there, to say that an all-knowing Santa is going to deliver presents to the good little boys and girls. It's a lie. With flying reindeer, it's I've asked hundreds of people and only a handful didn't believe it. They weren't taught it. That's part of the deal. But who was in on it? Friends, family, also NORAD, NASA. I remember living in Wisconsin, in the middle of the country, near Lake Michigan, and I remember when we lived in Milwaukee, one of the news presenters said that Santa was seen by NASA flying over Lake Michigan, and that was all part of a very elaborate lie. Now, Mike is Logan Paul's friend, and he sought me out at the conference. He said, now there's real wisdom. You got wind chimes, mirrors, Santa hats, and that. And you know what? The reality is he was a lot closer to the truth than I believe he realized. Yeah, I had the globe on top of my car, and I had also a repurposed Crown Royal bottle. I asked Logan Paul, I said, do you believe that Jesus turned water into wine. He said, I don't know. I said, well, I believe that. I believe he did. And he also turned whiskey into water for me. And by the way, water fills its container, Sikh's level. That's just what it'll do. Whether it's, I don't have a special jug per se. Any container will do it. To kind of fast forward then in that whole video, it was a movie to make fun of the searching for truth on a matter. And actually, when I saw Logan's interview later, when he said it's the stupidest shit I ever heard, is the earth flat, it looked like he reluctantly said that. I don't know. He makes I believe over $1 million a month with his YouTube channel and moving the merch, they call it, merchandise. He even did a Santa Claus video where he's talking about having his way with Mrs. Claus and Santa wouldn't move the merch. So even in that joking around, that perpetuates that false reality. We were given the globe in the Universal Studios logo, the spinning globe there. We were given the globe all over the place, but the globe only exists in the imagination. The space that people go to, or that NASA is concerned with, is basically the space between your ears, your brain, to give you a false reality, to perpetuate a lie. So I remember when I was a child and I found out that Santa, the historic Santa delivering the presents, was all a lie. I had wondered what else they were lying about, seriously. And I found out that more recently there were more lies than I realized, a lot more. We not only have fake news, we have fake history. We have an indoctrination system that basically perpetuates a deceptive perspective of the world that we live in. So what do you believe? That's one of the things that I go back to is, and I've said many times, I thought I was born again until I actually was. I was one of the religious hypocrites that was going to church and I just couldn't hit the target. I couldn't obey scripture biblically because I wasn't born again. So that's why I was struggling as a drug addict and an alcoholic. It's important to know that, because what it also means is there's a tremendous amount of people, I'm convinced, that are attending these Saturday or Sunday meetings all praising Jesus, and they might not even be a child of God. They might never be born again. I don't know. From what I understand, scripture saying very few will be. So I'm going to flip this around here. We've gone like a mile or so. And I'm going to take us out on the beach here. This is the Prince Resort in Cherry Grove, South Carolina. In the Myrtle Beach area, we're anticipating about 20 million guests here this year. So I see it as a mission field that comes here. I don't need to raise money to go to a foreign country to tell people about Jesus and the shape of the earth and the world conspiracies, the global deception. The globe is the biggest part of the deception, and it encompasses everything else, almost everything else. So I'm going to take us out there and show you. So in the summer, we're going to I just wanted to make sure my light wasn't on. We're going to go to paid parking all over Myrtle Beach. It's going to costs like a couple dollars an hour to park here, which is pretty unfortunate. It was a decision that was made. I'm gonna talk to him about it. I'm gonna tell him, you know, you can charge for parking. You might have fewer people that decide to come and visit here because of that. I'm not in control of what they do. So I'm gonna show you right there. There's a puddle. We got a lot of wind coming in, probably 15 miles an hour now. And that puddle will just do that. Even though there's ripples, there's the street light right there. It's just what it'll do. Whether it's a puddle here at the ocean or wherever you live. Good morning. And then just as like clockwork, we'll have the drain in the low spot in the parking lot. If I want to put the reflection of the building up there, all I do is walk on over here and it'll be there, just like clockwork. There it is. And those, when I've done a lot of videography and photography to help people see this, and that's one of the big deals. So yesterday when I came out here, there was a group of people that were going to pick up trash on the beach. And also a school bus came out here, and I would say the ages of the children would be anywhere from 7 to 12, young boys and girls. And then they were supervised by a group of adults that volunteered to do that. And right here is the spot where I had my 2 beach chairs. And I put sand around them, and that holds them in place. There were a lot of little footprints around there yesterday. It's starting to rain. I think I'm gonna hop back in the car. But before I do that, I want to take us down this walkway and show you where the Myrtle Beach skyline is. It's about 25 miles away. One of the reasons we can't get a telescope and see other countries from here is because of the wind and the water and the evaporation and condensation fog. Those are all limiting factors on what we can see. So when it's really foggy, we can't see more than a short distance down the pier. We've got limitations to what we can see. Now there's a matte finish on the water because of all the rain coming down. This was in some of my videos as well. This water fountain puts out about 35 gallons per minute. The water just falls. It's just what it does. Myrtle Beach skyline is not visible at all from here. We've got aerodynamics that the birds display. They're overcoming the differences in density and mass by pushing against the atmosphere. The air we breathe. I've been doing some things differently. One of them, since we talked, I've been bathing in drinking water, reverse osmosis, carbon filtered water. And now I've been, and I'll put 1/4 of a cup of coconut oil in it, as well as 2 cups of magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt. It's great for overcoming addiction. It's great for the nerves. and it makes me feel good. The water seeking its level, just running to the drain. It's what it'll do. It's testable, observable, repeatable. We don't get any water sticking to any spinning balls or stationary balls anywhere, ever. So I'm just going to show you right there is the symmetry of the power poles there. It's just what it does. Right up there we've got the front of the building, the reflection of the car. It's not almost flat, it's flat. We'll see the truck in the reflection right there in a little bit. Day in, day out, all over the face of the mostly flat earth. We do have mountains above and below sea level, over 5.5 miles tall. So part of what's happened is I understand that I can share this message that they're lying about all that, and I do, and I will, and then what the answer is. So I don't put the garbage in my body or on my body. I eat healthy. I get to do what I want. I do it day in, day out around the clock because it's what God created me to do. So, see the distortion on the roof of the car? The water, when it's undisturbed, doesn't do that. Does water curve? Absolutely. It fills its container. It's in my curved glass. It's in my curved jug. However, the surface of undisturbed water is flat and level. Day in, day out. The water droplets on the car
It sure is, Robert.
Hey, what?
It sure is flat. Level.
Oh yeah, yeah, and so part of the, I don't know how it is for you. I know that it can be a little bit overwhelming to have people question our intelligence because we fail to go along with the official lie. Oh well. I'll do it anyway. I'm going to point it out because it's important. And this right here, where I'm parked right now, within a year is going to have a parking ramp, and then across the road where I walked into the parking lot is going to be a Hampton Inn, apparently. So part of the dynamic for me that really caused me to question my personal reality, if I was truly born again and all things are supposed to be new in Christ, why am I addicted to so much behavior that I couldn't stop? Why couldn't I stop drinking? Why was I smoking cigarettes in the shower and drinking vodka for breakfast? Not every day. Just enough days to make me wonder what in the heck is going on. What is wrong with me? Well, all I had was the flesh, my original equipment. I hadn't been born again yet. That's the point of that. So as I take this little drive here, we'll see some puddles, reflections. It all works out. It's so, to be clear, on a spinning, wobbling, and of course the gyrating globe, there could be no exactly level or vertical. Even the bubble level that people use for construction, like these construction projects, even when they're using a laser level, many of those laser levels use a bubble level, a liquid level, to go ahead and set it up. So truly, water exposes the global lie. It doesn't matter how many digits somebody has in their bank account or letters around their name. If they believe we live on a globe, they're deceived. If they've looked into it and believe it globe or flat, it doesn't matter. It proves they're really deceived, because the truth matters. People are basing their eternity in many cases on a false reality. We got a photo that I shot of this area right here, and there was a huge puddle right in front of the car. Huge. And what I did, Karen and Patricia and audience, is that I inverted the photo. It's, you can tell which way is up. However, it looks really close. It's kind of interesting. It's just what happens. Water covers the face of the earth, fills its container, and doesn't stick to a ball. How about that? We don't have the toilet water flying out because of a magical make-believe force called gravity. Now, Satan doesn't care whether people go to the corner liquor store, like is right there, or the Oceanside Bar and Grill and get all tanked up, or go on over to the Walmart pharmacy and have pharmaceuticals. In the past 2 weeks, right in the neighborhood where I live, right in this area, a couple more young men have died of heroin overdoses. It's tragic. Where did they get the heroin? If you follow the chain in the delivery system, you can see that the governments of the world have been involved in the opium wars, drugging humanity with opium. And it's historic. It goes back for years. Poppy Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, a CIA significant individual perpetrating the opium wars and more. When we had, I want to take you back in time to Desert Storm, and we had battle hardened the Republican Guard surrendering in droves. They had never seen anything like it. They used technology on them. The material, the nanoparticles of aluminum and barium and strontium and whatever else they probably rain down on them, and then they activate it with a silent weapon. A silent weapon system. It's just what they do. And what it did is it made them afraid, very afraid. So they surrendered. That technology has been updated, and it's been deployed all around the world. We've got cell towers all over the world, actually over 5 million that they mentioned. And then with the 5G wireless, it's going to allow autonomous weapons to unleash death on humanity. AI, hashtag it, AI. It's more like the Terminator, I'll be back. Not like Sophia, the bubbly little ditzy torso that maybe will say something like kill all humans. Joking? Not joking. On my liked video playlist, I've got anywhere from, well, over 2,000 videos. I do my best to try and have a high concentration of truth on there. However, to be intellectually honest in exposing the lies and the deception, it's going to be there too. I believe it's only by God's grace, our unmerited favor, that we're going to be showing it to us. So I believe it's impossible to love and believe the truth, let alone find it. People largely believe the lies they want to believe. Why would so many people cling to the globe. Why would they do that? I don't know. People believe the lie they want to believe. And what has happened in my life is the truth has become more important than, um, well, has taken on primary importance. The rain falling, it's just what it does, day in, day out. It doesn't fall the opposite direction somewhere else in the world. We live on a level plane. Recently, I liked a video that Eric Dubé, several of Eric Dubé's videos. We have different theological perspectives, yet I believe he's done an absolutely wonderful job exposing the global deception. This is the waterway. It's tidal affected too. Ships go in and out here. Interesting place. We've got the matte finish because of all the rain. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this video that Eric and Jay DeCasby put out, and what it offered $50,000 to anybody that can prove the curvature and the movement of the Earth. Neither of which can be proven because it doesn't exist. So it may cause a lot of people to look into it. I hope it does. To have somebody prove conclusively, without a doubt, to the world that we don't live on a globe, it would be fatal for almost anybody in a position of power. If Donald Trump were to step out from his, what I believe he's just another Illuminati puppet, just a different look about him. Oh, girl. You couldn't see the person that was coming into the view there. But anyway, there are people that have a position of power that are perpetuating the lie. For Donald Trump to say that we've got a space force, we should have the space force. No, I just came up with it. We'll call it the Space Force. It's the most absurd, stupidest, ridiculous thing ever. Oh well. And going to Mars, it's ridiculous. I remember a couple years ago I went to the EAA, that's the Experimental Aircraft Fly-In in Wisconsin, and they had the NASA display there. And they showed propellers supposedly working in a vacuum in Mars, on Mars. There we've got another indoctrination center. Millions and millions of dollars dedicated to give a false perception of reality to the youth that attend there. Oh well, I'll meet them on the beach sometimes, some of them. Like that busload of youth that some of which maybe went to my channel. I get people that go to my channel because they saw the cars, see the shirts, see me out in public, and I don't have any control over that. What I have noticed is that even the very young, like less than 3 years old, have asked me the question, are you a YouTuber? Like this little girl walking with her grandpa was carrying her. She said, are you a YouTuber? I said, yeah, and I handed the grandpa my card. You know, they don't need my card. They can see it. Some people, I've driven into a parking lot. I was on the phone with a friend of mine. I said, hey, I think they're checking my channel out. I stopped so they could walk across. I was going to get some cat litter, the pine pellets we use for our kitties. And I said, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go and talk to them. And sure enough, they knew how many subscribers and views I had by the time I parked the car and walked over to them.
Wow.
Now in the neighborhood we live in, there were people driving back and forth that wondered what's about YouTube Truth. They couldn't find my channel. And they had been driving in and out for months. They couldn't figure it out. Notice the reflections there. That's what I want you to see.
Is that because you changed your name, Robert, from My Perspective to Truth?
No, it's because some people can find it better than others, and that's what I want to talk about.
Actually, if you tell anybody, don't say, put your name. If you put Robert Foertsch in, the truth comes up. So it's obviously your name.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if people hashtag my name, they'll find all my stuff. That's why I put it out there, because it'll show the variety of platforms, the Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. It's all going to be there. So that's why I do that. What I wanted to say too, the skill set of the youth that were walking with their smartphones and could find me like that was different than the young men that were driving in and out of the development that we live in. It's some people can find it, and others a lot of censorship with Facebook now, and YouTube and Google. So if
do you?
by
I
Logan
to know
Paul,
something. I'm on Facebook, and I love the messenger side. I like that part where I can call Patricia or anything like that. Or my other friends, I can speak to on Messenger. I don't really like Facebook itself. I just don't. It's just I just can't. I just don't know. It's not my favourite place. Anyway, carry on. What are your favourite places?
I'm sorry, Karen. You kind of
I was just saying that I love the messenger side of it. That I can call Dave Marsh or Patricia or you. I love that part of it. I don't like Facebook very much.
Yeah, well, so just to be clear on the censorship that's occurring, I'm gonna flip. Well, let's see. On the censorship that's occurring, people might think they can just go and find the videos that I've liked and shared real easily. I would say not so. What you're looking at is an individual, speaking of myself, that has made a very concerted effort to find the truth. And I believe I found the truth ultimately and in many different areas that are talked about or that I share about. And including the financial system of the world, the military-industrial complex, the drugging of humanity, directed energy weapons, autonomous weapons, the hive mind. The hive mind meaning that the system of the world is perpetuating a false reality on humanity, and they're sucking it up like crazy. They're deceived, and they don't know it by irony and paradox. It's the way it is. Here's the puddle that's there every time it rains. It's doing the same thing. It always does. That's the way it is. And that's part of the reality of all this. Now, in our neighborhood, I drove this car around with the P1000 outside the roof, and the water was coming up in our neighborhood. Hurricane Florence had caused the Waccamaw River to overflow the banks, and the sewer system that was in this neighborhood was now delivering water from the river into our neighborhood. It almost flooded us out. We had emergency rescue people come into our neighborhood at 10 o'clock at night telling us by 4 o'clock in the morning we were going to have 5 feet of water in our living room. That was disturbing. Talk about trying to figure out what priorities to have. It can be a real challenge. So in the context of that, this is the low spot right here. Water was filling up coming out of this drain. Now in the back part of our development, there was water like 3 feet high. It was filling up these ponds and overflowing the banks. I'm going to go over the puddle that fills up. It's right in the middle of the road. You can see it. That puddle right there reflects the street light down the way every time. Not sometimes. When that puddle fills up with water, it just does that. So the physics and the properties of water, day in, day out, expose the impossibility of the globe. The water fountain right in the middle of the view, it's a demonstration of it. When you flush the toilet, wash your hands, take a shower, whatever, the water exposes the impossibility of the globe. So for a lot of the audience here, you are already aware of that. What I want to help you embrace is the simplicity of the physics and the properties of the water and the truth that it shows. You can move the container any way you want. When it gets still, it'll be not only flat, it'll be level. That's all. So what has happened is AI, artificial intelligence, isn't going to be self-aware in 2050. It's been self-aware for a long time. I don't know how long. I don't need to prove it. What I can show you is a humanity that is so deceived, they're walking in a fog all over the place. They're living in a false reality, making important choices for their eternity based on a lie. I meet a lot of do-gooders. I met some yesterday. They were going to help supervise the trash pickup, and yeah, they go to church on Sunday, and they know me. They said they think I'm way too focused on things other than the gospel. I said, well, I'll tell you what, there's a whole lot of atheists clinging to their godless cosmic Big Bang because NASA says so. They're promoting a false reality. It's a religion. It has all the components of a religion. And, you know, there's memes that have been put out, like a little boy sitting on Santa's lap saying are you real? And he says, of course I am, sonny boy. Too many people would have to be in on the lie. All they do is deceive humanity, and it just takes care of itself. But it's more than that. It's more than that. It also has to do with the conscripting of humanity into materialism, pursuing the acquisition of stuff to feel better. It's been going on for a long time. And sex sells. And that's a very important dynamic. They want sex to sell and that to be a motivation simply because it works well. Our human nature wants to be satisfied that way. And that's the way that is. So I'm going to flip this around and just show you a different area. This is our neighborhood. It's a community pool that we have, and it's doing the same thing as the other swimming pool. Notice all the reflections, the perfect symmetry. Now there's a breeze blowing around, probably 7 to 10 here. It just does that, day in, day out. All the puddles just doing what they do. So that's where, when our intelligence is questioned, you're just such a simpleton. Good. Oh wow. You believe we live on a globe? That's one of my questions now for people. Is if they've looked into it and they come away with that they believe we live on a globe, I absolutely know without a doubt they're deceived on that. What else are they deceived on? So in the area of, I thought I was born again until I actually was, there's a lot of religious phonies. they just piss us all off, asking for money to buy stuff that they don't need, jets, and they're selling holy water and prayer cloths and all kinds of crap, and they're marketing this stuff. And there's a whole lot of people that are going to get the shock of their life when they realize they're not even a child of God. They're not even born again. Where do I get that from? Matthew 7. Many are going to say on that day, Lord, Lord, didn't we drive out demons, work miracles, and prophesy? He says, away from me, you evildoers. I never knew you. He knew who they were. They weren't his children. So I know at different times, Patricia, you've asked me, do I feed the homeless? Do I reach out to them? Absolutely. Yeah, and more. I do that face to face. I have stuff with me that I can give them. And not only that, I'm reaching out to the people that can reach out even further if they want to as well. I'm going to show you this right here. I think you'll be able to see it pretty good. The contrasting colors, all the symmetries of the reflection, the truck, the roofs of the houses, flat and level. See the symmetry of that? It does it over and over and over again. And so when I see it and I'm commenting on it, I not only see it when I'm telling you about it, I see it as I'm doing life. As I drive around, do what I do, it's a continual reinforcement that that is the reality, as best I can tell. So from the standpoint of, is the Bible reliable? Is it true? Well, it talks about this world not moving and that the sun and the moon and stars move. Talks about we can't see the wind, however, we can see the effects of the wind. We can't see the Holy Spirit, we can see the effects of it, the changed lives. Because of my surviving a suicide attempt in 2005 and over a dozen years of a pharmaceutical assault on me from 2002 till more recently, about 4.5 years ago, I was rescued from that. So because of that, I met a lot of people that have not survived so well. They became addicted to drugs and or stayed addicted and then ended their life, like I attempted to do. I want to show you something. Might make an impression on you. Ah, good. It's not broken. Now, this is a metal plate that's taped onto this. There's a corresponding one over here, and it's an hourglass, obviously. And I'm going to show you something. I can't show it going upside down, though, with this, because when I turn my camera, it'll just flip. There's virtually no movement of that cord right there. I want to get real stable and still. There's a teeny little bit of movement there. And because of the reflection, it's kind of hard to see that. But if I put the sand with the background of the grass, you can see it. Can't see it so much when the background is the white. And you might think, well, Captain Obvious. Well, here's kind of the idea of that. The contrasting difficulties of life show the beauty of the changed lives. Like when I'm talking about surviving drug addiction and being a new creature in Christ, that's a big deal. That's part of my evidence of a changed of the reality of God. Plus, we've got all the biblical proclamations that have been proven, like the Noah's Ark, the Great Flood. I've got the video of the ark found in the mountains of Ararat by Ron Wyatt. The creation shows and proves the reality of God. I met an engineer from Toyota Corporation. He says, wow, you've got some strange ideas. I said, well, how do you believe this world came into existence? He said, well, aliens. I said, really? How many aliens? He said, I don't know. I said, so you believe it's strange that I believe one God created all this? He says, yeah. How many of your aliens does it take to turn in that light bulb? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Oh well, people believe a lot of stuff. Is it true? There's the puddle. Does it time and time again. The world is full of mirrors. Sometimes what we put off affects our surroundings. Telling the truth is an unpopular thing to the deceived. They don't want to hear it. I'll tell them anyway.
Yes, we know you do, Robert. Nearly every day on that beach and on your films. Very much appreciate everything that you do for us.
Oh, thanks, Karen. You know, and that's part of the reality of this is that now there's not just the me that does this, there's the digital me that can keep doing it even when I'm asleep or doing something else. And I don't really know how much longer I'll be able to do this. We've got like right out in the backyard here, it's obvious to see one more time the physics and the properties of the water in the way that it greens everything up in just a very short time. The water adds nourishment to the greenery. I put my I'm gonna have to wash it out, but you know, the water cleanses not only our world, it cleanses us. That's one of the reasons why I talk about it. The magnesium sulfate or Epsom salt that I'm putting in my bath water actually provides nourishment to the body, and I can water my plants with it. I'm not anti baking soda, it's just that I found out that the Epsom salt or mag sulfate has some properties that are very beneficial, like I said, in overcoming addiction and that type of thing. Now, from this vantage point, I think we can see the sand flowing better, and that's just what it'll do. I had a repurposed martini shaker. I've had a lot of martinis for breakfast, and I had baking soda in it. And the reason for that is it shows repurposed containers like I was and am. I was repurposed. I was given new life so I can help set other people free. If God was a cosmic killjoy taking the pleasure out of life, what a bummer that would be. But actually, there's a deep satisfaction for doing what I was created to do. I'm going to take you inside. Do you all have any questions?
Robert, everybody's listening to you. One second. Everybody's listening to you in the chat room. They've been listening to your lovely talk, and yeah, I'm not sure. Just wait a few minutes, Robert, in case anybody puts any questions in.
Okay. I wanted to show you what I've got going on in here. You want me to put you on a live broadcast, baby? Okay. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of how the mirrors work in here and multiply the views of the TV. And this is on my channel. And so, like, talented movie producers have created content like this that will be from all over the world. 4 and 6K video, drone video. Practically speaking, ooh, look at that setting. Isn't that something? Practically speaking, all the plants provide a healthy amount of oxygen for the house. That's a big part of it. And then I can either have different photographs moving on this or also the video. I know what I was going to show you here too. I was talking about this earlier today. The curved water. See, that's like a goldfish bowl. It fills its container perfectly, and yet the top of it will be flat and level. That's the point of that. That's Lily. She's all about some personal hygiene. How about that? This is Dean Martin. He's the cord chewer. Oh, that's Smeagol. Aren't they adorable? They've got some serious super cat abilities. Can jump really high, and they're pretty funny. So what I wanted to do is go ahead and thank you all for having me on. Before I let you go, was there anything you wanted to ask or tell me? That's Frank. He's our special.
You know what I was going to say, Robert? When we were on our trip, I was thinking, well, the only thing we haven't had today is the kitties, but we have the kitties now.
Yep, wrapped it up with the kitties. Oh, and I wanted to show you too. I want this. I have a video where I've shown this as a nice pool table. I actually put mirrors on the pool table and had the cue balls or the ball. See how it just sits there perfectly still? It's more example of the non-movement of the earth. Couldn't even have a billiard game on a spinning, wobbling, and gyrating globe, right? And that's you don't need to feel sorry for me. That's an air mattress. It's really comfortable. It's one of those select comfort sleep number beds. So when I'm crashing
it's a
out
kitty
on,
bed, isn't it, Robert?
oh well, the kitties just love it. They just love it. And I've got a dish over there, not a satellite dish. There aren't any satellites as we're told, but the kitties will hover around it when it's warming up. But they all find the sunny spots and will go there when the sun's out. It's all kind of interesting. Now, Karen, did you say there was any question for me, or are we good for now?
Hang on, Robert. I'm not sure what's going on. Hang on. I don't see any questions. 1 second, please. I don't see any questions in the chat room.
All right. So that's the anytime number that I showed on the screen earlier. If y'all have any questions, you can call me anytime or use a Facebook Messenger if you want. My YouTube or my Skype handle is YouTube Truth. Just out of curiosity, do you see the truth in the proper orientation there in the mirror, or is it backwards? See the where I'm showing you on my shirt? Is that forwards or backwards for you? Can you see it, Karen? Did I lose you? Did I lose the broadcast? All right. Thank you all so much.
Oh, I see Robert's gone. I wasn't expecting him to go there, ladies and gentlemen. I was gonna say goodbye to him off air. Anyway, everybody, it's been a really great hangout. Patricia, are you there? 1 second, please. Really great hangout. I love listening to Robert, and thank you so much to everybody listening in the chat room. Patricia, are you there? Patricia? Patricia's not quite there at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to end this hangout. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a really great weekend. See you next week. Mwah.